Dubai real estate, everything about the benefits, why you should invest, the returns, the capital appreciation, the tax benefit, the amount of wealth that you can generate in a short period of time. Long story short, I came to Dubai on a holiday and bumped into a real estate broker, and I had a conversation with that person. That conversation honestly changed my life. So I went back to Australia. 4 weeks later, I ended up moving to Dubai. I genuinely remember there were times where I'd go out with my friends. I wouldn't have any money. And then they'd go out and get lunch and I didn't have money for lunch. So I'd wait for them to finish eating and I'd finish their leftovers. Almost 10 out of 10 people would have given up. 100%, man. So, man, we know what we want. We know where we're going to get to. And it was just never going to be for us to not succeed and get to where we wanted.
Hello and welcome to Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. And today's podcast, we have Ali Saleh from Dubai. How are you, Ali?
I am good, my brother. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to the podcast and unpacking everything that we're going to discuss on today's podcast, my man.
Fantastic. I love that, bro. So just before we go, what do you expect our listeners to learn from watching or listening today's podcast?
It's a very good question. Very, very good question. I thought that's your job to give them a rundown, but let's see. Look, everything about Dubai real estate, everything about the benefits, why you should invest, the returns, the capital appreciation, the amount of wealth that you can generate in a short period of time, the tax benefits. There's no tax here, of course. Okay. And then on top of that, man, we can dive into obviously the lifestyle. We can dive into everything else in between. Obviously, if we're comparing it Dubai to the UK or other parts of Europe, man, the weather here is insane. You're so close to everywhere else in the world. I'm from Australia personally, so for me, it takes 14 hours, 15 hours to get to Dubai, so it's far. But I'm now closer to the rest of the world. So, man, there's a lot for us to unpack. We can even go down the path of the process of investing, how it's going to work, and what you can actually expect. And then obviously a little bit about me. And if you want to get into the Dubai real estate industry, well, I'm also your guy.
Fantastic. Let's go. So before we get to start unpacking this, what is your contact from earliest years? I need to understand Ali. So tell us a bit of a background about yourself, how you started, your childhood life, things like that.
Very, very good question, man. So I'm one of 8 kids. So very, very big family, 6 boys, 2 girls. How did it all start? So a lot of my family and a lot of my extended family are all in the construction industry where they're either laboring for somebody or the very, very rare few of them would be having their own business, not many. I don't know. I tried that whilst I was young and never actually enjoyed the physical labor side to that side of work. I refer to myself as a little bit of a pretty boy. I like to dress well. I like to look good, feel good. I don't like being dirty. I like to maintain myself and I care about my presence, man. So it just wasn't the right fit for me. So growing up, man, I don't know what it was, but I've always had this mindset to really want to be a winner. I've always had this mindset that I wanted to dress really, really well and to earn a lot of money. And at some point in my life, I always wanted to wear a suit. Now I've gotten to the point where I was wearing suits every single day. I don't want to wear the suits anymore. But look, a bit about me, man. It's what you see is what you get with me. I'm always the loudest person in the room. I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very energetic. This is me, honestly, on every single day. Whether I'm having a shit day or having a great day, there's always the energy there. I now own my own real estate brokerage, and I need to lead by example. Obviously, if I've come in flat, the whole team is going to be flat. So I need to continue, regardless of my external circumstances. I still need to be here and make sure that everyone here is vibing off this energy, which is typically how it works. But look, I've been in real estate now since 2015. That was when I first joined the industry. I was working as an associate, as a PA. As a door knocker, worked my way up, and then finally got into sales. And up until 2022, the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, I was still working in Australia as a real estate agent. I had obviously at that point progressed a fair bit. I had my own team. I had a team of 3, so myself plus 2 other associates. I also had an administration person as well. So I had a fairly good, successful team that was going on. And I was quite a well-known real estate agent back home in Australia, and I was the number one agent in a few of the areas that I was servicing. Things were going really, really good. Long story short, I came to Dubai on a holiday over New Year that year and bumped into a real estate broker, and I had a conversation with that person. That conversation honestly changed my life.
Wow.
Cut that story short and that conversation short. At the end of that conversation, he just said, man, you should really consider moving here. I said, look, I'll think about it. That was pretty much it. 3 days later, I'm still in Dubai. The company that he works for basically called up and said, if you're still here in Dubai, would you want to come in for an interview? And I said, yeah, I'm still here. Went in for an interview. I didn't know I got the job on the spot, but I walked out of that interview and I was like, whether I get this job or not, I'm moving here. I just saw all the opportunity after that. It just opened up my mind. So I went back to Australia. 4 weeks later, I ended up moving to Dubai. That was it, just so quick.
Wow.
4 to 5 weeks. And that was it, man. I've been in Dubai now since last year in March, very beginning of March up till now. And in a year and 9 months, man, I'm, like I said to you before, man, I'm very, very blessed. I'm very grateful to be in the position and circumstance that I'm in, that I've been able to do what I've done in this time frame. Honestly, moving to Dubai has genuinely changed my life, man. It's a year and 2 months in, I resigned from my previous employer to start focusing on working and opening my own brokerage. And alhamdulillah, here we are. I'm actually in my office at the moment.
I can't wait for you to show us the office, man. So it is very exciting.
I'll show you soon. But I already got 8 brokers working for me. We have 2 admins. We have an accountant. We have a PRO. We have a videographer. Man, we got a full team, full team happening. Like I said, man, very, very blessed. I know that I couldn't have done this without being here in Dubai. I wouldn't have been able to do this soon and this early on into my life.
Massive opportunity in Dubai and witness. I know we're going to touch on a lot more about Dubai because that's the whole point. We want them to learn on how to invest in Dubai. So looking at you said you wanted to win when you're young. So what was that driving force? What really, because all kids busy playing football, for you maybe rugby because you're from Australia.
Rugby, that was it.
Right? So what then get you to think outside of that kind of area or community for you to start thinking about wanting to win big? Is that coming from a parent or from someone that has inspired? What really triggers that for you to be wanting to be a winner?
Very good question. Very, very good question. I don't know what it was, man, but like from a young age, I always had a very competitive edge. I always wanted like anything that we played, whether it be playing handball at school or whatever it was, hide and seek or whatever it is. I always wanted to win everything, and I was very competitive. And then as the years progressed, when I was playing rugby league, I started to then make to the professional sides and the representative teams, etc. And I don't know what it was, man, but look, I didn't grow up in a very, very fortunate kind of household. We grew up in, I think you guys refer to it as council flats or government housing. We refer to it as housing commission in Australia. So we grew up in government housing. Mum was a stay-at-home mum. Dad was a taxi driver. So didn't come from much at all. I think my growing up circumstances, my younger circumstances were a big driving force. Obviously, there were times when I was younger where, obviously, I remember till now how the circumstances was growing up. My biggest driver is that when I decide to have kids on my own one day later on down the track in future, that I want to be able to provide better opportunity for them. So from a young age, man, I wasn't always thinking of my future kids when I was 15 years old, obviously, but it was just always wanting to be the best version of myself. It was always, I wanted a better lifestyle. I saw people around me that were living a better lifestyle, living in better circumstances and conditions, and I always just wanted it. I never had it growing up, but it was the fact that I never had it that was making me want it so bad.
Fantastic. Living in a council house. We call it a council house here. What kind of motivation you had to kind of think about, maybe I'm living in a council house, probably is perfect at that time at your age, but how were you able to censor, like, listen, we deserve better. I can do better than this. I don't want my kids to be living in a situation like that. So what was that epiphany moment for you that then get you to think about thinking outside of the box?
Another very good question. It was more so, it goes back down to my growing up circumstances. Like, man, I genuinely remember there were times where I'd go out with my friends. I wouldn't have any money, and I wouldn't have asked my mum for money because my mum obviously didn't have any money. So I'd go out with my friends after school or on the weekend or whatever it is, and we'd go to the shopping mall, and they'd go shopping, they'd buy a T-shirt or they'd buy a pair of shorts or whatever it is. I never had money for any of that stuff. And then they'd go out and get lunch, and I didn't have money for lunch. So I'd wait for them to finish eating, and I'd finish their leftovers.
Wow.
And that was honestly, that was the circumstance. And I know that if I asked my family or my mum or my dad for money, that they would have been able to give me $5 or $10, whatever it may be. But being around my friends that always had $100, $150 on them, it was like, it was more a bit of an embarrassment pulling out $5. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. For me, it was honestly, it was just my growing up circumstances that that really drove me to want to break free, to want to break out of that circumstance that I was so used to. And that was honestly my driving force. Like, that it was just the growing up circumstance. It was seeing successful people around me and seeing the lifestyle that other people were living that my family was never ever exposed to. And it was just like, well, if other people can do it, why can't I? And that was genuinely my belief from a very young age. And I'm very, very fortunate that was how my brain was working at such a young age. But I would just look at how we lived and look at how some of my friends were living or how other individuals that I went to school with that were living. I'd be like, well, what's so special? Like, what's the difference? Like, what do they have that we don't, other than money? We have the same amount of hours in the day. We have the same body parts. We're the same thing, pretty much just different people, same place. Yeah. And that was that.
Wow, I love that. It's very touching. You know, I can also relate to that. But you see, sometimes when you are in a surrounding, say you live in a council house, you know, you tend to know people that kind of the same caliber sort of people. You're all in the same boat. Mom, dad, taxi driver, next door neighbor's dad is a laborer, or maybe they work in a factory, stuff like that. But I would say you may be lucky to be surrounding yourself with people that are kind of not better than you, but they're financially okay than you. So would you say that sort of surrounding then influences you to think differently than the way the other kids that live within the council estate thinks?
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, look, there's one thing I 100% agree with that, because I'm a very big believer of you are who you surround yourself with. And if all of my friends were growing up in council houses as well, and we're living the exact same circumstance, it would have been very, very hard to try and think outside the box or see from that other perspective that I was looking at it. One thing that I want to praise my parents for is that they made sure that they put us in decent schools. And that was the reason why I was able to be around people that were in a better life or financial circumstances to what we were. So we went to not private schools, but we went to Catholic schools. Being even from a Muslim household, my parents still sent us to Catholic schools because they knew the educational system was better, the teachings were better. And I got to learn a lot and obviously make friends of people that weren't in the same financial position as where we were or life circumstances as us. And definitely that is something that helped.
Fantastic. I love that. I love that answer. So how about school? How was school like for you?
It was good, man. I was in my young ages, I was a troubled kid. I would always cause a lot of trouble. I was always getting into trouble. I was getting into fights. I was always going into after school detention or lunchtime detention, whatever it is, depending on whether it was primary school or high school. But I was I had a good time. But thinking back to it, I wasn't a very well-behaved young boy.
Okay. So how does lack of money in your household lead you to do what you're doing right now?
It was the motivation, man. It was honestly, and that is the driving force, as I mentioned before, man. And I would urge any person who's listening to this to try and figure out what your why is. And it's a lot more to it than just my why. It gets pretty deep, to be honest. If you can figure out what is your driving force and what is what it is that you wake up every single day for, to strive for, to work towards, to try and create a better life for yourself. If you can figure that out at a young age, you'll do very, very well and you'll be very successful because, man, we're human beings. There's not every single day that I wake up with this type of energy, but I still need to act. I still need to ensure that this energy is always there. It's always being vibrant. It's always bouncing off the walls because I can't work and I can't operate with my energy levels being low. So if there's an outside, circumstance or an outside situation or an alternate issue that can affect my day, I don't allow it to because there's no point. There's no point whatsoever. So
I love that.
That's that.
Yeah, I love that because, for me, then why is one of my key things when I talk with my real estate investors. If they come to me, Rahim, I want to get into property because I want to get rich. I don't tend to work with those people because once you get rich, then what? Right? You have to have a why. You have to have a burning why, something that will really gives you the motivation to kind of thrive, because entrepreneurship is not an easy thing, which then drives me to the next question. You moved to Dubai because someone employed you and you've used to that security. You're used to making that income every single month. And you've been doing that for, say, over a year. Being so comfortable in doing what you're doing, having that security, not having kind of control or commitment to make a company successful, to diversifying or to moving away from that to become your own entrepreneur, becoming your own boss. How does that transition work? Like, because that's where lots of people kind of say, I'm used to this bit here. I don't want to go here because this is so tough. How are we able to transition?
Look, man, the transition is obviously the toughest part. And why a lot of people don't do it is for security, because they're all comfort. Like I said, man, I've always wanted more. I've always wanted to be the best. I've always wanted to be the hardest working person in the room. I've always wanted to be the loudest person. Not loud in a way where I show off anything or I'm very egotistical or whatever. That's nothing like that. I'm a very, very humble guy, but I know where I'm heading. I know what I want to do. And I know that there are certain things in life that you need to risk. And being the biggest risk takers are always the biggest people, the most successful people. And the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. Of course, there's obviously a larger chance that you can fail with the risk being bigger, but you will never ever know. And there's one thing I will never live my life with regret. I'll never ever regret anything I once wanted, and I would never ever live a life where I would look back and be like, shit, if only I could go back in time, I would have done this. And that was the driving force to my decision to actually move here. Was after I found out that I got the job. I sat there and I was like, all right, well, think about it. You have a successful business over here. You're making X amount of money. You got 3 employees that work for you. You have X, you have Y, you have Z. You have a mortgage back home. You have a nice car. I had all these things. I was like, so what's the driving force to get, like, to actually leave all that and to move on the opposite side of the world where you have no friends, no family, no car, no financial security, joining a company that is essentially employing you, but on a commission-only basis. Now, I was obviously working on commission-only, but being on commission-only for 4 years with a well-established name, you're getting paid almost every month because you're selling properties every month. So that was how that worked. So, like, that's where it comes down to, like, how big are your fucking balls? And I don't know if I'm allowed to spell this.
Go for it, mate. Go for it.
But, man, honestly, you need to have balls to do it, and you need to figure out, all right, well, is this going to be the best decision for me? Every decision I've ever made in my life, I look at it more so as a business decision rather than an emotional decision. Of course, if I wanted to look at it from an emotional perspective, I would have looked at it, I'm going to miss my family, I'm going to miss my friends. Do I really want to do this? Do I want to be so far away? Do I want to be alone? All of that would have stopped me from going. I was actually in a relationship before I came as well. And I ended up ending that to move to Dubai. And genuinely, as bad as that may sound, in my mind, it was the right thing to do because it was a business decision. Being with that person would have held me back. Being with that person would have not made me get to where I would have gotten to if that was still there. You know what I mean? So there were so many factors, and like I said, I like to make my decisions based on logic and based on a business perspective. But look, people are going to listen to this and think this guy's a lunatic, like this guy's crazy. But you need to be crazy. And you like to get to where you want to in life, you need to be some kind of element of crazy, which kind of brings me back to my last point about knowing your why. If you want it bad enough, you'll be prepared to do almost anything and everything. I don't care who I cut out of my life. I don't care what the circumstance is. Of course, I will never cut my family out of my life. You know what I mean? Things like that, they're more important than money. There's a lot of more things that are more important than money. But for where I want to get to, which is financial security, financial freedom, be able to provide my children at a later stage with the best possible opportunity that I possibly could, that is my driving force. And I knew that moving here would give me a better opportunity to do that in a quicker time frame and provide me a better lifestyle to be able to live. And that's it. And the rest is history.
Yeah. I love that. You kind of explaining it really resonate with me. So the same thing for me as well. I grew up in London. My families are in London. My friends are in London. I live almost all my life in London, but I realized I needed to make a change. And my change was, I noticed the people I surround myself with were not the people that would get me to where I want to go. Because back then it's all about going to the clubs, football is on, hanging around in town centers, city centers, who's got the most expensive trainers, who's got the most expensive shirts, stuff like that. But I realized that wasn't the life I want for myself. And I had to make that change that you've done. But the only difference is you move countries that are further away from each other. But for me, I moved from living in London to living in a place called Wales, Cardiff, where I was able to kind of transition. I didn't know anyone in Cardiff. I didn't have family member. I didn't have anyone here. But I knew I have a goal. I have a dream. I have a why. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. But I knew if I stayed there, I wouldn't be able to achieve the goal I set myself to achieve. So I moved away. I cried. I'm going to be honest. I cried for about a week or so because it was emotional, right? It was emotional, leaving all the people I know. But what I realized was I started getting better quality of people around me, better quality of friends, and it really transformed my life. And today, I dictate and do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, only because I made that transition. But sometimes I know it sounds crazy. People think, wow, why would you do that? But it is for the plan for everybody, because now when I go back to London, friends want to see me, they ask me for advices, stuff like that. So I'm kind of impacting them positively. Some of them are still hanging around in town centers, city centers, doing the whole same thing every single day. So I can really see where you're coming from, and it is paying off drastically, and it's going to pay off a lot more. But the plan to transition from commission-based to having your own business, right? I know a commission, if you're very good, you're always just going to make money. But when you're starting up your business, right, and you're not also working on a commission base, that means you haven't got any income coming in, right? But how were you able to kind of leave during that situation to get your business going whilst you're not working for the other company, and you got to invest to make this brokerage work?
Rahim, if only you knew. Honestly, and I won't be releasing it now, but honestly, I've spoken to my business partner and we're going to release the full story on how we've done everything. Yeah. And because we shouldn't have been able to do what we've done and how we've done in the time frame that we've done it. 99.99% of people would have given up and lost a shit ton of money. But we just kept looking at each other every single day. My business partner and I were just like, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. We came into this budgeting at a certain amount. We ended up spending more than 3 times that amount. And we didn't have 3 times that amount of money. So we've just grafted and done everything we possibly could to have made ends meet to ensure that we could still, first of all, get the fit out done, which thankfully we were able to do. And then obviously now the overheads, keeping it afloat, providing the whole team with gear, with all the resources, tools necessary, and everything required in order for them to succeed. No one would have ever even picked it. Everyone would have just been, oh my God, these guys would have had heaps of money and they've just opened up a really fancy office that looks really, really good. We've done a really nice fit out and X, Y, and Z, but it wasn't the case. There was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of stress that went in. Nobody would ever pick it on me because I don't ever like to show how my emotions are. You always think I'm happy. You're always full of life and full of energy because it's not anyone's business to know. Or I'm not going to walk into one day looking like I'm upset and flat and I'm lacking energy and lacking in whatever it is. There's no point. It's my own shit that I need to deal with. I'm a man. I'm going to deal with it however I need to deal with it, and I'm going to get through it. And I know I'm going to come out on the other side on top, 100% out of 100% of times. So it wasn't easy, especially early role, where I only make money if you sell properties. Now, fortunately, I'm really, really good at what I do, and that's the honest truth. I am, where I was continuing to sell properties even throughout the period of time where I was opening up this company. So, which obviously helped fund a lot of it, etc., and vice versa. My business partner was obviously still selling property at that time. So we were setting up this company as well as working and trying to make it happen and make money, etc. So it was tough. It was stressful. It still is, because there's payments coming out of our backsides, and you're not guaranteed to get paid every month. Like I do off plan. Sometimes you could be waiting anywhere between 3 to 8 months to get paid from the developer. So what I have done over the last 3-4 months, I actually haven't even been paid for yet. So it is stressful, but life goes on. We need to make it work, and we are making it work, and we'll continue to make it work.
I love that, bro. And yeah,
genuinely speaking, this is the most important thing anybody can focus on and have, because if either my business partner and I were mentally weak, or were negative people, or weren't on the same wavelength, or couldn't see the journey that's ahead as clearly as we could, I'm telling you, almost 10 out of 10 people would have given up. 100%, man. So, man, we know what we want. We know where we're going to get to. And it was just never going to be for us to not succeed and get to where we wanted.
I love it, man. I know it is persistence, and it also commitment. And it's not always easy to become an entrepreneur, to open a brokerage, for example, in Dubai, where things are very expensive. Especially when I went back on holiday, I realized how expensive it was. But I commend you for that. I've been watching you setting up your office, your Apple Mac stuff going and everywhere. You set it up really, really nice, bro. I will tell you that. So with your rich background across different cultures and leading role in real estate in Dubai, how do you tailor your approach to meet diverse needs of your clients in Dubai?
That's another good question, man. Look, I've studied this industry. I've studied the art of communication. I've studied the art of negotiation as well, to a T. So I can almost be like a chameleon, which is that animal that can adapt and change color to whatever it needs to in order to kind of fit in and make it work. I really know how to deal with almost any particular client that you can think of, whether they be from Europe, whether it be from China, whether it be from Asia, whether it be from Australia, from Africa, whatever it is. I know I have this gift where I know how to deal with clients, and I know how to make them understand what it is, the point I'm trying to make. Whether I have to explain it in a particular way or I have to explain it in a visual way, whatever it may be, I just know how to do it. So that hasn't been the most challenging thing for me, but look, I'm quite fortunate now that my business is headed in a particular way where the majority of my clientele, I would say 95% of my clientele, are Australians from Australia. So it's just made things a lot easier for me in terms of how I deal with the diverse culture over here. But all of last year, man, like I sold properties to Germans, to people from the Dutch, people from Russia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, like all parts of the world. And every single person likes to be dealt with in a different way. Every single person makes a decision based off something else in a different manner, in a different timeline. So it's about trying to actually look. You just need to understand the client. Yeah. It comes back down to that. That is the most simplest way I can put it. Understand your client. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and make sure you're listening. If you listen to what your client's saying, there's no reason why you're never going to be able to service them correctly.
I love that. Dubai is renowned for its ambitious real estate project like the World Islands. Could you share what makes these areas attractive to investors and residents alike?
Good question, man. Good question. I think it's the only place in the world where you can invest into real estate where there are such extravagant projects. Like you have one of the world's largest man-made islands, Palm Jumeirah. And that is like an island coming off the shoreline, shaped in the shape of a massive palm tree, where you have properties almost 80 million pounds. Yeah, that range up into that. Like, it's a lot of money, man. And there's people that buy these plots and people that buy these properties and villas. And then you got the opposite side that now they're creating a palm 2 times the size of that, which is one of the world's man-made islands to date. And it's just, man, there's things on offer here that are never going to be offered anywhere else in the world. There are exciting projects that are designed and tailor-made to try and increase tourism, to try and increase people to want to be there and invest there. Man, it's the only city in the world that you can actually come to and you have almost anything and everything within a 5-minute drive or within a 10-minute drive, whatever it is. Man, I'm on my phone right now and order a new iPhone, it will deliver to me within 15 minutes.
Wow.
Like, it is to that extent. You want milk delivered, it will be here within 15 minutes. Man, like, anything that you can desire, it's just based off convenience. They've literally built this city based off convenience. So to answer your question yet again, Matt, there's just so many factors why people are driven to Dubai. Like in Australia, I know the UK as well, the taxes are massive, man. They're really, really high. 48%. In Canada, it's like 52% for some of these taxes. Now, a lot of these countries, man, you're losing more than 50% of your hard-earned money to the government that really does very, very little for you. Over here, you buy property, you pay no, and then you decide to sell it, you pay no capital gains. You rent it out, you pay no capital gains. You rent it out, you pay no money in terms of the income that you're getting from your rent. You don't have to pay any of that tax. Everything is tax-free. And then the best part about it is the people that really invest here that have looked into Dubai or that have reached out to me, man, Dubai is so young. And if you've been here, you have, I'm sure you would have seen that a lot of development, but there's also a lot of empty space. But if you compare Dubai to like London or to Paris or to New York or to Sydney, Australia, whatever it is so far behind in terms of the amount of development that is there. The major cities in the world, they're all full. This is so young and there's still so much to come. That is the most exciting thing about it all, is because, man, we're still priced about 180% cheaper than one of those major cities that I've just mentioned. The closest city to us, in terms of a major city in the world, we're priced close to 200% lower. So, like, we're significantly lower in terms of price per square foot or price per square meter, which is only going to increase. And then, obviously, population will double over the next 8 years. There's physically not enough homes to house this people. So it's just so much exciting stuff to come. Man, it's an opportunity for you to be able to put some money in where you're almost guaranteed to walk away with, if not double, then triple.
Yeah, I love that, because when I went to Dubai, looking around, right, coming from the UK, where everything is kind of a bit old, when I was driving through Dubai, everything is new. Even the road, the overhead roads, I'm thinking, what is going on? Everything is brand new, right?
You know what? In Australia, right, a newer kind of home is something is referred to as, if there's a 30 years or younger, is a new home. An old home in Australia is like 60 to 100 years old. That's an old home. Over here, if a property is over 5 years old, that's classified old.
Wow. Yeah, I can tell, man. When I'm driving past all these guys, everything looks new. So for our audiences, looking at Dubai as a potential investment opportunity, what are the first steps they should take to get started? And how can SBRE assist in this process?
Very good question.
You can break that down for us so we've got that picture. Yeah.
Or we can make it as simple as possible. Just contact me and I will make your dreams come true.
I love that.
It's like that. It is a very, very easy process. It depends on how you want to invest. If you're an investor and you require a mortgage, you're going to need at least a 40% down payment. The banks here will only lend you up to 60% as a non-resident. Alternatively, you have another option where you can look to purchase an off-plan property, which is what I would recommend. And the reason why I recommend it, you're buying for slightly below the market value today, and the property doesn't actually complete for another 2 years, meaning that you bought at today's price, and if you decide to sell it in 2 years' time, obviously the market would have increased. And at that point in time, you have the newest property available within that area that you've purchased in. So people want the newest thing in that area. So people are going to be driven towards your property. If the market's gone up by 30% by then, which on average in Dubai goes up by 18% year on year. That's overall. There's some areas that have gone up by over 40% each year. But if we're working off average, and then let's say you've gone up by 15%, so by 30% by handover, now you've already increased by 30% minimum. And then keep in mind, you have the newest property available, which obviously adds value in itself. So if you're looking at going down that option, then all you need is 10 to 20% down payment, depending on the developer. And then you've got to follow a payment plan, which it does vary upon developer, but on average, you're probably looking something approximately around 5% to 10% every 6 months up until, and you only got to pay up to about 50% throughout the construction cost phase. So throughout the construction, you come up with 50% over a 2-year period. So if you're buying for £500,000, for example, you only need to come up with £250,000 over the construction period. Then you actually have the opportunity to flip it and sell it without paying the additional $250 that you still owe the developer. So that is why that buying off plan to buy and flip makes a lot of sense, because you've only put in 50%, but you're getting 100% of the returns.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how it works. What I do, I'm not your typical real estate agent where I have properties and I look to sell properties and I advertise them online. I work specifically and only for buyers. So if anyone in this audience is listening and is looking or interested in purchasing in Dubai, all you need to do is either send me a DM or get in contact with me somehow. What I will do is I'll actually listen to what it is you're hoping to achieve, put a structured and a tailored investment plan on how we can actually help you achieve those goals. And then what I do is I then negotiate for you. I find you the right property. I look to get you a better payment plan. I look after the whole process from A to Z. You don't even need to come to the. And then when it comes time to sell the property later on down the track in 2 to 3 years' time, I can then look to obviously assist you from that angle as well. So I'm more of an investment and asset advisor rather than I am a real estate agent. I generate and build wealth here in Dubai.
Sorry, I love that. I'd like to break that down a little bit. So I'm taking down mad notes here, right? So let's just go back then. So suppose I lived in the UK and I've seen Dubai as a potential investment area, and I want to buy a property in Dubai. Right? What are the requirements as an international investor I need in order to allow me to be able to buy a property in Dubai?
Very good question. All you really need is a valid passport. And I know that sounds a little bit silly, but you need a valid and in-date passport. You need to have at least, like I said, a 40% down payment if you're buying with a mortgage, or at least a 20% down payment if you're buying off plan. Okay. Obviously, if you require a mortgage, then it gets a little bit more intricate. You're going to need, obviously, of funds, proof of like employment in a sense. They probably want to see 3 months of bank statements and pay slips potentially, see that you are employed and you can actually make those repayments. Other than that, it is as simple as that. We just got to find you the right property. You pay whatever the down payment is, and then you acquire the property. You can acquire it within a matter of days and take possession of the property within a matter of days.
So with the registration, do I have to register to a body back in Dubai? Do I have to do anything legally in order to be able to buy the property? For example, in the UK here, you would have to register in some form to be able to buy a property. And maybe you want to register your company if you want to buy it on the company name. And if you want to buy it yourself, you can be international and buy it, but there's a different sort of legal stuff you need to do in order for you to be able to do that.
etc. So no, there's nothing you need to register whatsoever. You literally, honestly, if you engage me and said, Ali, I want to buy, I've got X amount of money, this is what I have to work with. It's all in cash or it's all in my bank account, whatever it is. I want to buy. All I got to do is, okay, what are you looking for? How much, what are you hoping to achieve with it? And how soon are you ready to make a decision? You tell me I'm ready to make a decision today. My budget is £500,000, and find me a 2-bedroom that's going to get me a good rental return. No problem. Find you that today. We get your money sent over from the UK to here, which I can help you get done. The money will land here within a matter of 2 days. We literally sign a contract. That's all done digitally, so you don't even need to be in Dubai for that. If you're buying with those funds that are already available, genuinely speaking, by the time the money gets here, I would either tell you to flight and come to Dubai because you have to be here for the transfer, which is when you take possession of the keys, or you appoint me as your power of attorney, and I'll go there on your behalf and pick up the keys for you.
Right. As simple as that.
It is that simple. We have to obviously then fill out like some forms about who you are and where the money has come from, of course, just for any money laundering purposes, etc. But very, very straightforward forms, very, very straightforward process, very, very easy. It's
fantastic.
Even easy off plan. Genuinely, if you tell me, Ali, this is what I want, I find you a property that ticks your boxes. I send you the property, you tell me, yep, I'm okay with that. I want a 2-bedroom that faces that way because that way is the nicer view. No problem. I find it for you. You pay a security deposit, which is probably going to be around £8,000. That will secure the property in your favour. You send me a copy of your passport and your email address. And then with 10 days of that, you need to come up with 10% of the overall amount. So if it's worth £500,000, you need to pay £50,000. And that will get you the property in your name. Khalas.
I love that. So now let me take that hat off as an investment. Suppose now I want to buy a holiday home or holiday apartment in Dubai. I'm not intending to sell it. I just want to have it as a holiday home. When I go to Dubai, I've got somewhere to stay. So for some of our audiences, most of them or some of them are also looking to do things like this. So what sort of process do I have to go through to make that happen?
Look, that's also a good question. So if you're looking at buying something to then like lease it out as a Airbnb or something along those lines, obviously you need to find something that's going to be in a good location that will make your investment worthwhile. You'll need to then fully furnish the apartment or the holiday home to a way that it's really good. Then you need to market it very, very well. But in terms of getting it managed, there's many companies here that will help you manage that asset to ensure that the property will always be free whenever you want to come and visit. And then on top of that, making sure that you're getting the maximum amount of return for that property. The process is just as easy. You don't even need to be here for it because you own the property. It's just a matter of getting the right person to actually manage that property for you. And like I said, man, this country, this city is based on convenience. So anything, you can get anything done for you as long as you have this. Like as long as you got the money, which it costs you too much to do, but man, you can get anything done for you over here. Like that's just the way the place is designed.
I love that.
Somebody to come and pick you up and drop you off at a certain place at a certain time and wait there for you, they'll do it. You want someone to come and you have a set of keys that I need from you and you're on the other side of Dubai. Boom, I'll get it. Somebody to go and pick it up and collect it from you. You need groceries delivered in 15 minutes. You can get that done. Like there is, to that extent, anything is possible here.
Fantastic. I love that. So touching on the holiday homes, because I know that's where most of our market is also in. So if I was to buy the property, obviously it's for me to live in. If I'm not there, then you can Airbnb in it. So you might not know this answer, by the way, but I just wanted to put that answer out there. Maybe your experience would be able to help. So for the investors that are worried about repair and maintenance, when something goes wrong in the apartment or when something goes wrong with the building and they're not there, they got nervous, right? Because you want to ensure your property is fit for purpose and you'll be making a bit of money out of it. So how would someone be able to overcome that obstacle?
Very good question. And look, it all comes back down to trust and making sure that you're working with the right people. There's good and bad everywhere in the world. You know what I mean? So there would places here and companies here that will try and make things seem a lot worse than what they really are to try and get you to pay more. You're going to find that in every part of the world. The majority of people here are very, very honest business people. So as long as you do the correct due diligence and you find you do the right research to find who's going to be the best person to manage your asset, which I can put people in contact with that I trust, that do the right thing, that have good reputable names within the industry. It's a lot easier. And honestly, look, labor here is a little bit cheap anyway. So managing the asset, maintaining the asset isn't going to cost an awful lot. But look, there's a thing called subleasing here. And that's where if you wanted to do it, for example, you find a place here that is available for rent, you will take a year rental on it, you'll then furnish it, then you'll put it on Airbnb and rent it out. A lot of people are starting to do this. It is not the most profitable thing to do, though, especially now. Last year, beginning of last year, there was 6,000 Airbnbs available in Dubai.
Wow.
I think up until last month, there was 24,000. It has grown that much because so many people are trying to do it. So from 6 to 24,000 within a 12-month period is massive. That's an increase by, what's that?
That is it's more than 4 times or 5 times.
You know what I mean? Like it's more than triple the amount.
Yeah.
It is a big amount. So there's so much more that's now happening. That people's profits have actually gone down. And I know someone who's tried to start doing it. He got 2 places and he's actually lost money on both. So it's tough to do. It's not what it used to be unless you can secure something very, very cheap. Or if you buy the property financially free, don't need to take out rental, then it can work.
Right. Okay.
Different avenues you can go down in terms of the real estate sector here, where you can make money in different ways. It's not like Australia or back in the UK where the only way to make money is if you buy something really, really cheap, but then you've got to hold on to it for a certain period of time so you don't pay any taxes on it, or you need to physically move in and then renovate it and then sell it. Or like it's very hard to make money in real estate back home. Over here, there's so many different avenues. You can buy for cheap and then sell it as is and make money, which I've done that before. I bought a property for 2.8 million dirhams, me and my business partner. And we sold it within 2 weeks for 3.3.
Wow.
So like literally, but it was because right place, right time, we had the funds available and it was just ready to make a decision. Then you can obviously buy, renovate, flip. You can buy off plan, wait 2 years, then flip. You can buy something, knock it down, rebuild and flip. Like there's so many different avenues that you can go down because there's no tax. So it doesn't matter. And you, like Australia, you're restricted to the amount of properties that you can buy. And you can only use your equity in certain ways. Over here, it's endless. No restrictions.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Thanks for shining a light on the Airbnb side of things. Having 20-something thousand Airbnbs, I wonder where the hotels are at on that level, because obviously that would be a squeeze on the hotel's margin as well. But hey, that's what it is there. So I love that. So you talked about off-plan, right? Yeah. And you talked a bit about buying the property outright. I met a real estate agent in Dubai, one of the biggest out there. They did talk to me about off-plan. I wanted just to kind of understand your kind of idea on this. So I met 2 agents. The first agent greeted me at the airport, excited, told me a lot about real estate in Dubai. I don't know how they know I was in real estate in the first place. We went, we had a meal, they took me around, and to show me properties. So we went to one of these high building, and they went and showed me a studio flat, right? They showed me that studio flat. It's a beautiful flat. Don't get me wrong. The view is amazing. It looks really, really nice and amazing. But it is very tiny as well. So they told me the price. We went back to their office, only for them to tell me, yes, you can buy that flat, but you would own it with over 4 more people. I'm thinking, how is that going to work? How can you buy one small flat for say £400,000 and then you've got 4 more other people that are sharing the same actual flat? So how does that really work?
Yeah, look, there's 2 ways that can work, but either way is not profitable and it's not advised to do whatsoever. So I've seen it a few times where a property is for sale and it's like, how is that for sale for so cheap? But you're only buying a quarter portion of that property. So like an owner owns a quarter of it and is like, oh, well, I want to sell my portion. So he sells his portion. It's an investment property, but whatever the profits are is just split amongst 4 people. So I guess it could be an okay opportunity for you if you didn't have much money and you wanted to invest. But even so, I would much more encourage you to just continue saving for an additional year or 2 years and buy your own thing. Because then you're not worried about what are the returns going to be? What if somebody else sells their portions? What happens then? And then if it doesn't get bought up, like there's so many factors where it could go wrong. In my opinion, it's just it's not a wise thing to do. There's so many.
I thought so too as well, because they kind of hide that during the conversation, right? It's at the end of the conversation. Then I realized you're selling me a portion of it. Right. I said, look, I don't know how's that going to work. And I don't think that is a viable option for me. So for the people now aware about that happens, it's good that we have shined a light on that. Suppose now I want to buy an off plan, because I was advised off plan is one of the best investment. It's a process where you can buy a property before it gets built. And then obviously, as you said, you pay in phases, and then you can flip somewhere in a different phase. Because the higher the phases, the more lucrative the deal becomes. Right. So if you are a broker, obviously that's going to be an amazing opportunity for the investor. So if I want to buy a property off plan, right, at what stage of the refurb or the rebuild stage or the build stage you think is the pivotal time to flip and make a bit of profit from it?
Very, very good question. I always advise all my clients, if they have the intention to buy and flip within 6 months to 12 months, to stay away from off-plan. Because the truth is, no one's going to buy a property that's still a year and a half away from being complete for a premium price if they still need to wait a year and a half. So let's say you've bought a property and you say to me, in 12 months' time, Ali, I want to sell it. I'll say, Rahim, the property isn't due to complete for another year and a half. Like, why do you want to sell now? You're not going to make much money or any money at all. You know, tell me, it depends on your circumstance. It is what it is. Some people are pressed and need money. Every single person goes through different life phases and circumstances. There could be a divorce, could be a death, could be a loss of job, whatever the circumstance may be. Sometimes people have to sell. But I always advise, if your plan is to sell within the first 12 months of purchasing this off-plan property, there's no point because you're not going to actually earn any money. The best possible time to sell is leading up towards the completion phase. That is the point, the most amount of capital appreciation throughout the whole construction phase. Because let's say, for example, the property that you've purchased is due to complete in 2 months' time. Right now, the whole building is complete. It's finished. All they're doing for the next 2 months is making sure that every apartment, the water works, the gas works, the lights works, the electricity, the air conditioning works. So you have a finished product. It's just a matter of time until that you start to take the possession of it. So at that point in time, we can physically show the property. So we can do physical inspections and viewing. So when we take a buyer through, we can show them, okay, well, the building's there. They can see it. They can feel it. They can look. They can touch. It becomes a lot more of a personable experience rather than the risk that you took early on when you were just buying an idea at the time. Guys are now buying something that's right in front of them. It's tangible. It's an asset. It's right there. And obviously, like I said, why that is that you'll make the most amount of money is because there's so many different factors. But I'll run you through the most important ones. Is at that point in time, right? You've purchased 2 years ago for 2 years ago's price. The way that the market obviously heads and grows, it goes in an upward direction, especially in a place like here in Dubai where it's still so young. It's maturing, so it's only going to increase. So let's say even if it goes up 10% year on year, you've now at a point where it's 20-25% more than what you've originally put down for it. So you've bought it for, let's say, $1 million. It's now worth minimum 1.25, right? $1.25 million. So at this point in time, that's what it's valued at market price. But keep in mind, anything else that's surrounded by that property is not the brand newest property available in that community or in that location. So naturally drawn to the newest thing. If we compare the building that you've purchased in versus the other property that was the newest at that point in time, we may have a rooftop swimming pool and an infinity pool and have better finishes and have our own private butler, whatever it is. That because this is the things that developers are now offering with all their property. A rooftop gym or an outdoor running track on the roof, like crazy things that you wouldn't even expect or envision or imagine. So people are going to be naturally drawn to that. So at that point in time, the demand levels for that style of home or for that product is very, very strong, and the supply is obviously limited. And then on top of that, the best part about it is you obviously need to have funds available if you're looking to buy off plan, right? Initially, if you want to buy from the developer, or like if you want me to help you purchase, you're going to need the funds up front. A lot of people in a financial position to be able to do that, they may need a mortgage. You can buy a property on a mortgage that's off plan because the bank will only lend you money for a property that's near completion or completed. They won't allow they won't give you a mortgage if the property is still just started construction. So it then opens up to the rest of the market. You then have investors, you have people who want to move in, people who are buying with a mortgage, people who are trying to flip or hold on to it for a later stage. There's so many different avenues that you can go with. And it just opens up the market, the property to the rest of the market, which is going to give you obviously a better opportunity.
Fantastic. I love that. Talking now about property types. So again, I'm an investor here. I'm looking to invest for a return. So what type of properties do you advise me is the most lucrative right now in Dubai? Is it an apartment? Is it an apartment? Is it a detached house? Is it a mason? What type of properties do you think would really work well in our investment?
For a rental return, for an investment to hold on to and get rent?
Yes.
I would advise anywhere between a studio to a one and potentially even a 2-bedroom apartment. But you need to be strategic. It all comes back down to where we're investing. And the reason why I say that is because what's going to give you the best possible return isn't so much the rent. Obviously helps, but it's actually what you've purchased the property for that's going to determine your rental percentage in terms of a return on investment or a rental yield percentage. So if you've purchased in an area that's slightly underdeveloped, but there's a lot happening within that area, naturally a lot of people are wanting to maybe live within that area. But because it's underdeveloped, you're buying for a lower price per square foot, but the rent is actually quite strong. So you'd find that your rent, you're probably going to get a 10 to 11% ROI in comparison to investing into an area that's quite well established, where you're going to be buying for a higher price point. Your rent is also pretty good, but you're probably looking at around a 7% return. So it depends. Honestly, that is where somebody like me comes into place. Yeah, really help you making the right investment decision, because I'm the person who's going to negotiate for you. I'm the person who's going to advise you on the right area to invest in based off what it is that you're hoping to achieve with your investment. Do you want to flip? Do you want to rent? That will all have a different determination and circumstance depending on what it is you're hoping to achieve. And I'm your guy to help you make that happen.
I love that. So now let's get it on the other side. Let's say now I want to flip.
Sold? Give me 1 second, brother. I think one of my brokers just closed this first deal.
Signed, just waiting on the
fucking come on, brother. Absolute machine. Give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'll be with you.
You've just closed the deal, right? Live.
Yeah,
Let's give you a round of applause, man. Well done. Well done. Right. So I don't want to take much of your time. We are nearly there, Ali. It's all right. We are nearly there. So just a quick one then on the type of properties. If I want to flip, right? What type of properties do I need to concentrate on if I was to approach Ali to help me out?
Look, good question, man. Honestly, I don't give too much advice. I won't say that. It's not that I won't give too much advice for free, but my ability to advise people is I know that I advise very, very well. So I limit myself to what I say in public a lot, because a lot of brokers will just listen and be like, I'm going to do what he does, and because it works. And it's not that I don't want other people to know, but at the end of the day, man, a magician never reveals his secrets, right? Or his magic tricks. Yeah. But Look, the truth of the matter is it all comes back down to your budget and what you have to spend. Because depending on what your budget is God's going to allow for us to be able to say, okay, well, you're not working with 400,000 pounds. We're working with £1 million. With £1 million, we got X, Y, Z. Okay, with 400,000 pounds, we have X, Y, and Z, but not quite up here. Probably somewhere around here. The returns are still going to be really good, but Dubai is a place where the more you have to play is the more you're going to receive. So you're going to pay to play. And the more you spend, the more the returns will be. But it's like anything in life. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. So, but look, in terms of flipping, man, I would never advise to buy a studio to flip. And I would be very, very opposed to telling you to buy anything that's north of 3 bedrooms to flip as well. So 1 and 2 bedrooms are, in my opinion, the best things to flip because there's more demand for that style of property. You find a lot more people looking to buy a 1 bed or a 2 bed. People potentially looking to buy a 3 bed rather than a 4 bed. You're not going to make money, but ideally you want to buy the best possible investment that's going to give you the best opportunity to sell it in an efficient period of time and obviously make the right amount of money on top of that. So sometimes your 3 beds can take a while to sell, but like I said, it depends on your circumstance, depends on your financial position and how soon you want to make a decision to sell. Sometimes the 3 bedrooms are the better option because it goes off price per square foot. So if you're buying a 3 bed for a lower price per square foot and it grows a lot more, then obviously you're going to make a lot more of a return. You instead of looking at a 30% capital appreciation, you may look at a 45%. But 2-3 weeks to sell. It may take a month and a half, 2 months. It depends. So this is why it's very important to have the right advisor. So that way accordingly. And I'm going to advise you in a way that's going to ensure that your investments and your goals are going to be satisfied and achieved. Because at the end of the day, if I can do a good job for you, you're going to refer me to your friends and family. You're going to be like, this guy was honest. This guy was on it. He genuinely was ready to buy this and he told me not to buy it. He told me to buy something that was actually cheaper, but it was going to be better for me. You're going to remember, honestly, then I've told many people not to buy what they were thinking of buying. And it's just the business has come back tenfold because I'm an honest man.
Fine. I love that. I really love that. So with the average return then, before I touch on to the return, I know I just wanted to be brief here. So what's the average sweet spot of initial investment someone would need if they was to approach you to help them buy a property? What is the sweet spot? What sort of money they need to be able to have for you to get them that property that will give them a serious return?
I'm going to be talking in terms of off plan, right?
Yeah.
So realistically, man, times 5, 200 to 250,000 pounds is all you need.
How much?
200 to 250,000 pounds.
Okay, good to know. So what? Yeah, Karen. Sorry.
That works out
Karen.
to be approximately 1 million dirhams, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So anywhere in between that, you'd be able to find 1 bedroom if that's where you wanted to start, and that's so with the idea and more so with the idea to try and flip. Keep in mind, like I said, it's not 200,000 or 250,000 pounds up front. That you only need 50% of that, which works out to be about 125,000 pounds over a 2.5 year period. And then you have a decision where if you want to try and flip or keep it, then it's up to you.
Fantastic. So in terms of yes. So in terms of the return, then what is the sort of percentage?
Yeah, so if you're looking at it in terms of a return, on average over the last 3 to 4 years in Dubai with off-plan projects, especially the projects that I work on, majority of my clientele are looking to buy off-plan to try and flip. So the returns that we work off is a minimum base of approximately 25 to 30% at the absolute worst case scenario.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That is a good return. So Dubai real estate market can be challenging and sometimes rewarding as well. What common challenges do new investors face and how can they navigate through them successfully?
Very, very, very good question. There's a lot of developers here in Dubai. Some developers are better than others and some are worse than others. There's some developers in Dubai that only market towards the UK or towards the US or towards Australia, because nobody in the UAE will actually buy from them because their reputation is really, really bad.
Yeah.
So you will never know this being in the UK. You just think, oh my God, look how good this project looks. There's crystal blue lagoons. There's really, really nice infrastructure. There's a nice community coming, blah, 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 blah. Really, really strong and good flexible payment plans. And then you think, why not? I can afford this. I'm just going to buy it. And then you buy it, but you're not advised by anybody. Honestly, and the only way that you can actually counter that is by not working with the developer directly, because if you go straight to the main source, they're going to tell you everything you want to hear. They have no reason to tell you otherwise, because if they tell you don't buy this, they're losing an opportunity. But if you come to something like myself, where I have no legal ground and nothing, no ties to any developer, and you tell me this is what I'm thinking, I will tell you my honest opinion. Don't do this, do this. And this based on my professional opinion. I've been in this game 10 years. I know what works. I know what doesn't. I have clients that have trusted me with being their power of attorney to actively purchase properties on their behalf. They just make the payments. This Ali, whatever you think that we can make a 30% return on, buy it, we'll make the payment instantly. Like, it is to that extent. So my advice and my definitely, if you don't want to work with me, don't go straight to the developer.
I love that. You've built a reputation, amazing reputation, by fostering team building at your company. What's your philosophy on leadership and team development?
That's actually a really good question. That's a challenging one. My philosophy on leadership, and look, man, this answer could go either way, but for me, what's always been very, very big for me is, it was when I was a broker, was seeing the director or the owner of the company that I worked at was doing very, very well and was very, very successful. That naturally made me want to push to try and impress them, made me want to push to try and be like them, and aspired that one day I could drive the car that they're driving, or own the house that they own, or wear the suit that they have. Like, you know what I mean? Like, be able to look at and be like, man, this guy's just made it, you know? And for me, that's one thing that kind of drives me. But on top of that, man, I look at this in a very, very different perspective as to how I used to, especially now being a business owner, especially being in Dubai, is, man, no one that I've hired or that works for me was originally in Dubai before they started working for me. So they've all flown from their home countries to move to Dubai to work for me. Now, that only really hit about 3 or 4 weeks ago, after they had already been hired, but before they started. And it was just like a realization moment. I sat there and I was like, fuck, like, man, these people
massive responsibility, huh?
Massive, man. And I'm just like, man, I owe it to these guys to make sure that I'm switched on at every single day that I'm in, I can inspire them. Every single day that they see me, I'm full of energy. And I owe that to them. Every single day that they're in here, they're learning, they're absorbing, they're being like sponges, where they can literally be like, all right, well, I learned this today, or Ali helped me with that today, or Ali is going to help me with this tomorrow, or whatever it is. All of my knowledge they're now absorbing. For me, I genuinely feel some kind of obligation where I owe it to them to try and make sure that these guys are successful.
Fantastic. Looking ahead, what are your goals or plans for the next 12 months?
The next 12 months, I'm going to own a second office. The team will grow to north of 50 brokers. That is all that we're focused on at the moment. Not even focused on that right now, more so just to grow the team internally, ensure that every broker that we have here is doing well. Honestly, 9 to 10 out of 10 brokerages in Dubai have 1 to 10 brokers that are good. I want my brokerage to have every single broker in here that is doing good. That is how I know I've made it as a successful business owner and a successful leader, that it's not just one person who's doing good. It's every single person, and we're all collectively doing well and all earning life-changing money together.
I love that, man. I love that.
And in the interim for the next 12 months, honestly, like I said, mark my words, by this time next year, we're going to have another conversation and we're going to have a second location, and I'll have over 50 brokers working at SBRE. You're
doing well, man. So seriously, you said it with conviction and confidence as well. I love that. I love that. I love that.
Honestly, I only say it like that because I genuinely see it, and I know it will happen, because I'm not going to allow anything to come in the way of it. And I know that the way that I work and the way that my business partner is, we will work every single day nonstop to ensure that that happens. We have one goal in mind, and we're not going to stop until we achieve that.
Fantastic. Finally, for some of our investors, what areas in Dubai that you believe investors should be paying attention right now?
Ema South or Dubai South, Dubai Maritime City. And there's an area called Arjan, Arjan. Those are, in my opinion, the three areas that I would definitely highly encourage. I will not say why. If you want to know why and genuinely are interested in knowing more, to reach out to me, and I will make sure that I give you a full detailed analysis on why.
I love that. Quick fire round question. We're nearly one word, a couple of words on these questions. Okay, we're there. What was your worst advice you remember receiving?
Worst?
Yes.
Not to open up my own brokerage, because it was a bad time to do it and I will fail. And it's easier just to work for somebody else because there's less overheads and less responsibility. And I'll earn more money that way. Best advice you remember receiving? That was advice that I was given from my most recent employer when I signed. If we never opened up, we wouldn't open up right now because the market's bad. And I'm like, how's the market bad? I've just had 3 PB months in a row. Crazy. Anyways, next question. Yeah, best advice you remember receiving? Honestly, it's probably going to sound very, very cliche, but live your life with no regrets. Never regret something that you once wanted, or never live your life with regret, or never look back and think, I wish I'd done this. Just fucking do it. I love that. Is there something you believe that lots of people disagree with? Yeah, there'd be a lot, yeah. There'd be a lot. One thing. One thing that I believe in that a lot of people disagree with. Yeah. Just my style, my how I live my life. Honestly, a lot of people, I get a lot of backlash for how loud I am and for the way I am on social media. It's not that I'm bad, but a lot of people look at me and think that this guy's up himself or he's very cocky or whatever it is. Or, man, I'm just a regular person with an irregular mind. I live my life in a way that I enjoy and how I enjoy it. And if anybody doesn't like it, then there is the door and you're most welcome to walk away. I love that. I love that. Of course it is. Yeah. Honestly, the reason why people deal with me is because I'm myself. I express myself in a particular way, in a particular manner. And that is that. I love that. What is the best book you've ever read or listened to? I'll tell you the truth, brother. I've never read a full book. Okay. I'll be honest with you. But there is an audio book that I listened to. It was obvious. I think it was it was something to do with the law of attraction. I can't remember the exact book, but I'll message you. I'll tell you which book it was. But it was something to do with the law of attraction. I'm only into things like that where it's either business related or mindset related. I'm not interested in anything else, to be honest. I like podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't listen to many audiobooks, I'll be honest. I don't listen to many audiobooks, and I don't really read books. I'd like to get into it at some point, but I'll be lying to you if I said that I have read or listened to a lot of audiobooks. Fantastic. Is there something you used to strongly believe you recently changed your mind on? Yeah, you know what? There probably is. Look, this one, I'll mention 2 things. One of them was you need to be very, very academically smart in order to earn money or to do well in life. I wasn't academically smart. I never went to university or college, and I couldn't be happier with where I am in my life. That's one thing. Another thing is who gives a shit what people think about you? Honestly, I used to have a lot of my younger years in my career, I was too worried about what external people or outsiders thought about the videos I was doing or how I conducted myself or the way I'd speak, whatever it is. The moment I stopped giving a shit, it was the moment that my career honestly took off. Wow, I love that. Is there something in the world you fundamentally think is wrong and you would like to change? It's not in my hands, brother, but world cry, like war, like just it's everybody can see what's happening around the world at the minute. I'm glad it's stopped in Lebanon, but there's no need for it, in my opinion. And then on that, there's one other thing. It's teaching children about things that they don't need to be taught, like going to school wearing certain things or wanting to change their sexuality or their gender. Doesn't need to be taught to children. If you want to do it at a later stage, not a problem. But I don't think that should be taught to children.
I love that, bro. Same here. I've got the same sort of view on that point. So this podcast is called Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. What does Property Investment Blueprint means to you?
It's exactly what it is in the name. It's a property investment blueprint. So the way to be able to make it happen in real estate and in property, what is the exact blueprint? And everybody will have their own different type of blueprint. There'd be so many different people. If you spoke to 100 people that made it with real estate, they'd all tell you a different way on how they did it. That's where it comes back down to speaking to the right person to ensure that you can make it in how you want to make it. And I'm your guy. Absolutely.
If there is only one person you'd love me to interview, who would that person be and why?
Well, like not a regular person or a famous person?
Regular person, famous person, whoever you think the audiences would learn a lot from.
Honestly, there's one person that I really, really aspire and admire and look up to more than anybody else. And it's Cristiano Ronaldo. I just respect what he's done.
Wow.
He is, man, this the way that this guy lives his life, the amount of adversity he's had to face, and he still continues to shut people up. And he does it in silence. He doesn't talk too much. And he's just so disciplined. And I'm all about discipline. Discipline is the biggest thing in this world, man. So I respect, you got to respect what he's done.
Fantastic. What an amazing way to end. And that was a great special moment with you, Ali. You've been amazing, right? If someone is interested in your services, how will they contact you? Where should we follow you? And where are you hanging out on social media?
Very, very good question. I'm on all platforms. My main platform is Instagram. So if you want to get in contact with me, follow me on Instagram at Ali Saleh _realtor. I'm sure you're going to add the handle.
Yeah, we do.
That is my main, that's what I'm active on. I have a social media team who runs everything else. So if you want to speak to me direct, get to me on Instagram. I respond to my DMs on Instagram. If you want to follow Journey, follow me there as well. And you can also follow my company's page, SBRE _official. And that is pretty much it. We can then chat on WhatsApp. We can then chat on Instagram on DMs, and then we can obviously take it to WhatsApp. Only WhatsApp me if it's real estate related, please.
Fantastic. I love this, Ali. Thank you for taking us through the journey. Thank you to giving an open light bulb moment on how investment is in Dubai. It has really changed my mindset of how I think about Dubai. It has also enlightened me the benefit and the returns you get from investing in Dubai. And thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for helping people actually transform their life through investment properties. So thank you. It's been great having you.
Thank you so much for your time, Rahim. It was an absolute pleasure, brother. Let's keep in touch, and anything you need, feel free to reach out, my brother.
No problem. Cheers.